I'm a pretty quiet
Oh,
fellow.
yeah. I'll let a few folks come wandering in here, and then we'll get started. And I don't know, Ben, I miss it when we used to do the okay, what's the best movie everybody saw this week kind of icebreaker questions. We need to come up with something like that. What's the dumbest thing your clients have done this week or something?
The dumbest thing you've done this week.
What's the dumbest thing I've done this week?
Uh,
Oh,
I can tell you the dumbest thing that did in my technical career, and that helps.
all right, Ben. All right, kick it off. So what do you feel was the dumbest thing you did in your technical career?
I was working with ConnectWise Automate and wanted to push out Dell Open Manage to all the servers in our environment or in our client's environment,
Hmm?
and forgot to add the requirement that said only on servers and not workstations. So I pushed out Dell Open Manage to every single computer that we managed and automate. So
Sure, that
I
took a minute.
I put well, I mean, and thankfully it's not a very large program, but I pushed out an uninstall, right? But it didn't really take as well as the install. So occasionally whenever I was working at a machine, someone's workstation, I would look on their desktop and I'd see Dell Open Manage on there. It would make me laugh. So
That's awesome. I mean,
yeah,
there was no impact to performance, right?
not that I'm aware of. Nobody complained. We're like, my computer is running slow. I was
Yeah.
like, but
We had I was doing some testing on-prem and I don't even remember what it was, but basically reapplied file permissions to the entire silo. And it wasn't bad, but it brought the entire system to a crawl. I had 130 engineers just completely sidelined for like 2 hours. Yeah, that was a fun one.
yeah.
Looks like we're seeing not a ton of people here today, so we'll just go ahead and kick it off. And then if anybody has any questions, as always, shout them out. But I do want to lead with this. I think a bunch of folks here have joined us with regularity on our Thursday meetings with the rest of the
Hmm.
community. I would highly recommend join us this week. If you haven't had any virtual FaceTime or FaceTime with our new CEO, she's going to join us for our community call on Thursday. And I haven't had any FaceTime with her, but I watched a very long, extended interview, a little over 2 hours with her. And she seems to be a very interesting person. And, there's always concern when the leadership at the top is in flux or in evolution. And I think
Hmm.
this is going to be very good for us as an industry and for Kaseya. So I hope that that trickles down and remains true for all y'all as well. So again, join us Thursday if you can. If not, it'll be stored on YouTube.
Awesome.
Always like to lead off with, does anybody have any deep diving, burning technical questions before Ben and I go back to our Laurel and Hardy routine?
I have a couple, but they can wait.
Bring it.
I gotta
Ah,
go back in and figure out what it was. I thought I jotted
Okay.
down my questions for this week, but
no worries. Um,
Okay.
or like our friend Enrique, who I don't think will be joining us today. He would always have a question and then not remember it by the end of his sentence, by the time somebody finally called on him. So it was like you're in good company. We're all kind of squirrel, ADHD that way.
well,
Um,
here we go. So
Hit me.
this was one question I had. This was something you had actually shown us, Anthony, a while back. The stale guest account cleanup. So we had pushed that out, not just for like our tenancy, but I tested it with another tenancy as well. And
Mhm.
it wasn't hitting like those stale accounts that were well outside that window in terms of age. I opened up a case with SaaS alerts to take a look at it, but I mean at this point it's been like over a couple of weeks, and they've been able to validate it's not working. They just can't seem to tell me why it's not working. I'm just curious if that's come up in any other way, or
I
if that's
don't
a
know
known
if it was
issue.
your ticket, but I actually did see, if it wasn't your ticket, I did see a support ticket where the accounts had clearly had no activity for 6 months, and yet the respond rule was not identifying those for whatever reason. You could see them there manually in the account management tool, but the automation wasn't picking up on that. and I believe it was a friend of mine in New York, his MSP, that had that. So if you want, um, throw the case number in chat, and I'll go follow up and see where we are on that, because that's a very good question. I remember seeing some chatter around dev on that. And if that's not resolved, if it's still not working for you, I definitely want to take a look at that, because I'm a bit curious myself. That routine has been stable. I've never seen it not work until just recently, and that was maybe a month or two ago. But yeah, that you're I want to tell you, you're not alone, Sujit. Oh,
Okay. I'll
yeah,
look up that case and I'll post it here.
please do.
And
Yeah.
then in relate to Unify for unmapped devices,
Mhm.
so we had worked through with, I forget that, I think it was Jake from the SaaS alert side in terms of just kind of getting our integrations in place correctly. And I noticed with unmapped devices, when they're being pulled in through Rocket Cyber, and I'm not sure what the differentiating factor is because these same devices exist in Data RMM, but in this case, the product identifier is coming up as Rocket Cyber. And I guess through that integration, it doesn't pull recent users and there's no confidence score or anything. So all those devices, we're pretty much having to manually assign and locate the users for them. And I don't know why, I guess Rocket Cyber is getting preference when that same
Mhm.
device exists in Data RMM.
Well, the funny thing is, and Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't think Rocket Cyber was pulling in any of the telemetry that we collect using Unify. I thought that was something that they were sort of agnostic about. I know that's in evolution, but I didn't think there had been any changes anywhere near that yet.
I think they started doing that with, yeah, they're doing that with Rocket Cyber, and it's mostly
Oh,
just, I think, for correlation is, I don't know if you've noticed that tab, device correlation. It's
I have not.
Yeah, there's a new one that they're basically trying to connect those devices, uh, the duplicate ones to other devices that are already existing. But
Oh,
yeah,
device
like so
correlation.
if you go to unmapped, there are like you said, they exist, just not a ton about them. No device recommendation or no user recommendation or anything. But I think if
So
Mhm.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say if you think I think if you turn on the correlation, it should hopefully help remove some of those duplicates, I would think.
And where that comes from is, if you like, if I don't have enough data on a device, it's because
Hmm.
I'm not seeing the basics, OS, IPs, a couple, I think there's three or four
Yeah.
qualifiers like that, device name. That's where we just get not enough data to make any kind of intelligent decision. But I didn't think just because we were getting data from Rocket Cyber that would supersede any data we were getting um, from Unify or from the Data RMM itself, or
Rocket
whatever.
Cyber is really, really new. That integration is like super new, I believe. I might want to ask Adam, but I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's still like I don't know how it would correlate between the devices unless it's using like the name or something because I'm not getting user information. I don't know if I'm getting IP address information or not. That would be the only thing I can think it could correlate. But if you're not getting devices from RMM, I would make sure that the companies are mapped. I don't think we pulled in those devices if they're not mapped under organization. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So in this case, like the company is mapped. It was mapped originally with Data
Hmm.
RMM. When we worked with Jake on the SaaS alert side and they went through the whole, SaaS alerts is going to become kind of the big cheese and everything's going to report into that. The Rocket Cyber was something that was turned on. And then
Hmm.
for whatever reason, it seems to supersede what's already in Data RMM. And that's what's kind of thrown me for a loop. I don't know why it's superseding Data RMM. When the device
Hmm.
is there, it can see the username, all that information, and then it can basically, at least give it a device score, be like, oh, there's a 50% confidence rate. This is user XYZ. Whereas when
Hmm.
it comes in with Rocket Cyber, it's like, here's a device name. I have nothing else for you. God bless. And then we're just kind of left
Go
to
with
do it
God, my son.
manually. Yeah, it's pretty much. I'm just waiting for Jesus to pop up and give me a
Hmm.
high five and be like, back to manual. So
I would, Anthony, I'd run that by Adam and see what he thinks about that.
I'll give him a
Uh,
shout, and if I can get his attention, we'll get him in this meeting. Otherwise, yeah, I will definitely take that away as a takeaway. So, gee, that's again, I did not realize we're pulling in rocket cyber data.
Yeah.
I love that we are. That's always been our philosophy. We want to monitor everything we can. And hey, speak of the devil. All righty. For anyone who hasn't tripped across him, Adam is one of the product owners of large portions of SaaS alerts, and he was kind enough to jump in here and answer a
Adam.
question.
I'm
Welcome,
gonna
Adam.
try to answer a question. We'll see. You put me on the spot. Like I feel like I just got
No,
yoinked. I'm like, yoink,
yeah,
I'm in a
exactly.
meeting.
Firing squad ready.
No, 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 no. Adam, I was not aware of how Rocket Cyber data was being pulled into Unify. And our friend Sujit had some questions like, it appears when Rocket Cyber data is being pulled in, it stops being as Unify stops being as good at identifying who the users are. And I think it's a very quick distillation, Sujit. Did I miss any bases on that description?
No, you got it.
Yeah.
Because in our case, Adam, so the integration with Data RMM is already in place. The same devices exist in Data RMM, but it looks like I don't know exactly how, the system determines when, it pulls from Rocket Cyber versus when it pulls from Data RMM. But when it pulls from RMM, I see the device name, correlation, username, all the basic information. So at least get some kind of score. But when it pulls from data or when it pulls from Rocket Cyber, it pulls a device name, but no correlating information. So there's not even like a baseline established score of any kind. We have to then manually map it to every user. I'm just trying to understand, I guess what is the goal with Rocket Cyber kind of pulling that data over RMM, or why one is pulling it versus not the other?
Mhm.
Or is there a way to just be like, okay, hey, these devices, if they exist in RMM, pull there first and then correlate that to Rocket Cyber as needed. But it's just confusing with the Rocket Cyber entries because, like I said, I can't map anything automatically anymore.
Yep. So good questions. So the reason, if you go back to where you were,
This is
Anthony,
Ben's screen. This is Ben's screen. Yeah.
oh, Ben's screen, where we actually did have a correlation there.
Mhm.
Um, all right, so if you click on any one of those there, so I'm gonna answer the question you didn't ask me, but I think it's gonna get you the information you want.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna walk you through this. So when we get an event from Rocket Cyber, we pull in all the data we can possibly pull in. And one of those things is Rocket Cyber actually presents to us a device ID, which is the agent that the data came from. And behind the scenes, before the event even came in, when you connected Rocket Cyber and you mapped the organizations, we pulled all of the agents into Unify. And so when a Rocket Cyber event comes in, we use the same algorithm we use for every other product, which is we will look for a device ID that matches first. And if a device ID matches, we're going to pull that as the device from Unify because an ID is about as globally unique as you can possibly be. We do the same thing with the Microsoft Entra device ID as well. So that's where this is coming in. Now, one of the issues, and I don't want to say issue, but just one of the things that we have with Rocket Cyber is some of the data they provide us does not have usernames at all because it's really not a user related event. Like a firewall, for instance, will not have a username in it most often.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so in those instances, we, in some data sources like the endpoint event log monitor, we can pull usernames out of the actual event log entry, even though Rocket Cyber didn't submit the event log entry with a username. So Rocket Cyber, when they send data, they actually don't really have the understanding of a user. So we're pulling it out using the magic that SaaS Alerts does by mapping data and doing parsing and all the things that we do to connect an account or a user to that event log entry. And when we do the magic that we do, the description line will actually say this event log entry was enhanced or enriched with Unify data. And that actually means that the Rocket Cyber data that came to us didn't have a user at all anywhere. But because we had the device ID match, and because the device in Unify is mapped to an account, we've actually added it. Here's an example right here. Actually, if you look on that very top one, see the very last sentence in the description? This event data has been enriched based on correlation. So this means that when RocketCyber gave us the data, there was no account, there was no username, and there was no way for us to pull that out of the data. But we actually enriched the user.name because the device ID matched a device ID that was in Unify that was mapped. So that's kind of the event side, and I'll hold because you probably have more questions now. But let me tell you on the Unify side what's happening. So if you can open a new tab to Unify for me, Ben. So the other thing that is interesting about Rocket Cyber agents specifically is that there is not enough data provided by the Rocket Cyber API at this time to do any of the normal things that we would do with Unify, which is really driven on the public IP address, and the operating system is one of the main things, or the two main things inside Unify. We don't get a lot of the data from Rocket Cyber that we do from some of the other products. So because of that, and the fact that like normally we wouldn't have any suggestions here, I can't map any of the Rocket Cyber agents to accounts in our system the way that I do the magic stuff in the other platforms. So what we did is under the automation tab, under device correlation, when I saw this, I went, oh crap. And so what we very rapidly built was a device correlation engine. And what this does is we look at the data that Rocket Cyber does provide us. Might be, for instance, a device name, could be a serial number, a manufacturer of the vendor, and MAC address, things like that. We will take those fields that Rocket Cyber does give us and look at other devices inside Unify that are mapped already. And if the MAC address, serial number, manufacturer name, enough of the things match, then we go, must be the same device. We're going to copy the mapped account from the Data RMM device, for instance, into the Rocket Cyber device automatically. And now we've mapped Rocket Cyber, even though we don't have the data we would normally have for a different device. So by default, I set this minimum confidence level to 85, which is pretty high, because frankly, I really didn't know what this was going to do. And it was a last minute feature we threw in to try to get the Rocket Cyber agents to do the magic that the other agents do. So you might pull this down, which means that the auto magic mapping will do better. I have been asked many, many times, what is the best practice for this number? And the short answer is, I don't know yet. I need to run all of the devices that we've gotten from Rocket Cyber now against all of the other devices and actually figure out an average number to try to get this to be a little bit less restrictive than an 85. If you put it down, the downside would be that you might just get some weird mappings that don't make sense. And then you can put the number back up. So that is most of the story. The next piece of it is, now that Rocket Cyber, SaaS Alerts, we're kind of married, we're managed under the same GM. Our former SaaS Alert CEO, Jim, is the chief product officer and all of that stuff. we are now able to influence the Rocket Cyber agent as well. And we will eventually start having them provide us the data that we need to do the magic that we do. And this little device correlation thing that we put in there won't be needed as much as it is today. So that's all of the data. Now I'll sit back and ask, I'll answer questions.
Adam, I want to lead with this. If I left it high at 85, does time fix this if I have a
No.
longer baseline? No.
No, time doesn't fix it because it's very unlikely that the underlying data is changing. Like the MAC address isn't changing, the serial number isn't changing. The things that Rocket Cyber are providing us, it's not like a weight thing like some of the other products.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so the way that you would know this is kind of working is if you go to the mapped devices section and you filter by Rocket Cyber and you find ones that you physically did not go and map, then the automation is working. I know that's not as awesome as some of the other things, but this was a feature that I threw in last minute when we went, oh man. So it needs a little more work. Like a lot of the things that SaaS Alerts does, we release quickly because we see a need and then we refine as we realize that we missed the mark or we find new information. So this is an area that we'll spend some more time on eventually.
So currently then, for those devices that are not mapped under the Unify section, is it just going to be a matter of if that changing of that score, that correlation number doesn't help to kind of map more of them, the rest is just going to have to be manual mapping for the moment?
Unfortunately, yes, that is the answer.
Okay.
But I think coming down from 85 to like 65 probably is probably safe. But again, I say probably because I just haven't done the data effort and
I gotcha.
analysis that's necessary to truly get to the right answer yet.
I can mess around with it to see. For
Yeah, I'd
servers,
love to know.
is there any best practice for a server since those aren't necessarily mapped to a user? Like admin doesn't really fall under a user, I guess the way, or at least because when we go to map, it always shows like the 365 accounts or Google
Yeah.
Workspace.
I don't know
So,
that I'll recommend like best practices. I try to stay away from
but not so
that as a
much best practice, it's just
recommendation.
more to see, is there a way to map it or does it just make sense to exclude it? Like normally I've been excluding it because it doesn't really tie to
Yeah.
anybody per se.
I think so for me, like if it were me, that's all I can say.
Hmm.
I think if it was something like an RDS or a terminal server where people are actively logging into the actual device,
Hmm.
then I would use the shared mapping where you can add
Right.
all the users who would be using it. If it was just a file server that literally the only people who ever log in is a local admin, for instance, or something like that, I might just choose to ignore it.
Makes sense. Okay.
The
Thank you.
down, actually, I take that back. If you ignore the device, I think we ignore it from the event correlation. So actually, I wouldn't ignore it. I would leave it in unmapped because then at least when you,
Hmm.
well, no, it doesn't really matter either. So I guess the decision factor tree there is
Yeah.
if you leave it unmapped, then in the unify column inside analysis, you'll see unmapped there, or you might even see suggested accounts there. If you put it into ignored, I think we skip processing of that specific device for events. So you will end up having less data in the analysis tab if you ignore a device. So I'm actually
Got
going
it.
back and I'm saying I would leave it unmapped if it's a server.
Okay. Makes sense then. And
Does.
to that, uh, just kind of jumping off that real quick, so, and obviously I'll wrap up so I'm not taking up everybody's time.
No.
Real quick then, Anthony, is there a best practice then? Because like in our case with servers like DCs, app servers, we don't really have a user that ever logs into that compared to like a terminal. So can we create any kind of rule that'll flag if any like non-predefined name
Right.
signs in like an admin? Like for our case, we typically have an account called like Alpine, things of that nature.
Yeah, no, you could absolutely do that. We could build a respond rule that says if anyone except admin at or Alpine admin at or whatever your verbiage is
Hmm.
has a successful IAM event on that particular device, then let me think about that. Can we?
Mhm.
Can,
You could. It would be
yeah.
a very manual rule that you'd have to copy and
Yeah.
paste over and over again for every different server.
Right.
But or groups of servers. But you could absolutely do that with the filter section.
Yeah. That's where I was going with Sujit. I listened to Adam say, "Oh, just ignore it." I'm like,
Hmm.
if anybody except my break glass account or my admin account logs in there, I think I absolutely want to know about that. Yeah. So authentication success decryption operator does not match admin, Alpine admin at. Oh, don't tell me that that would work.
You'd have to
And
set
Start
then
up
you
a
start
probably want
you'd
to
have
put
to
like
set
a
up an IOC
unify
for it.
right.
unknown event property in there as well. So if it's unknown, so do status device tech, and then is unknown. So I think it would be as if it's equal to, yeah,
Yeah.
Would
yeah,
you do
that
that?
that's getting there. I'd have to think about it in depth, but that's around the kind of where I'd be going. And then you may even consider that the device name is server. Like you might specifically put in the name of your, if you've got like I'm just trying to think of like the device name might factor in there or the OS maybe or
Yeah, I'm
something else.
thinking more along
Yeah.
the lines of an OS,
Mhm.
because that's going to be a more persistent factor.
Yeah, you
So
could
if
create an
OS
ISD.
includes server.
Exactly.
Yeah, you could like this was what the respond rule would look like, but basically you would create an IOC that
Hmm.
has all of that information and description details so that when you created a respond rule, you
Hmm.
could filter off of the description details that you have specified down here at the bottom that you've built, which can
Got it.
include OS, it can include user, location, unify, all that stuff, I believe is there.
Okay. All right. I could use that as a good base to mess around with it. All right. Well, thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you, Sujit. That was a great jumping off point. That was. Anybody else want to arm wrestle with Adam before we let him go?
Mm.
Tina's always up for it, even if she knows she's going
I
to
would
lose.
probably take anybody on this call, but I don't know that I'd go up against Tina. I'd be afraid she'd beat me.
She would.
I do
She's
have
got
rock climber
leverage.
hands and arms though, so
Yeah, but she's got leverage, man. She's
She's
got
got a
that.
longer reach.
Oh, Adam, thanks for jumping in, man. Really appreciate it. This was very informative for me. As the device correlation, I know that's something that got dropped in at the last minute, and I didn't understand how to properly leverage that. And now I think I do. Now I've got
yeah,
a
I
much better
don't. Well, that's
understanding.
good because I don't know that I know how to properly leverage it yet. The jury's still out and just how the data looks and all that stuff. But I'd love to have you guys, however you provide feedback through this team, if you do lower it from 85 to 65 and you're like, damn, that's the sweet spot, I'd love to know that because it would help me on my journey of tuning this thing.
If anybody wants to throw their results into Discord, that would be fantastic. We could sort of
Happy to toss
make
it
a
in
little,
there.
yeah, perfect. Make a little clearinghouse article about this. Excellent. Yeah, Adam, until you get a summer intern to do the meta analysis of that data, or you teach Claude AI or whatever it is to do it, we'll give you the feedback we can.
Thank you. Have a good one, everyone.
Take care,
Thank
Adam.
Adam.
CG, thanks for a great discussion started there. Really appreciate that. Um, you said you had two questions. Was there another?
Yeah, no, that was the first one I
Covered it.
mentioned earlier was the quick and easy one. So
Right on, right on. Really appreciate that. Is anybody else leveraging Unify or finding good success or any challenges with it? I mean, what is this? What is this actually showing you about your clients' usage of their hardware?
We would love to play with Unify, but we're still waiting for the ConnectWise RMM / ASIO connection.
Now that's right there behind VSA 10, VSAX, and VSAX
Entra should
is
be soon though. I would check with Adam
Yeah,
on that.
or the Entra one coming
yeah,
in. We'll
no,
obviously can play with
that's
that one.
coming. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one.
That is, since that's universal across everybody, that gives us good hardware data. Thank you, not Google. Any case, well, that's good. I appreciate the feedback, Sam, and yeah, that's on the list. It is. Couple more folks jumped in while Adam was off on his educational Discord rant, educational rant. Um, Anybody have any other technical type questions? Anything deep dive about the platform or life in general?
Like the chip.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna open it up, man. All righty. We mentioned at the top, I'm going to mention it in the middle, I'll mention at the end. Join us Thursday if you absolutely can for our community meeting. Our new CEO, Ronnie, is going to be there, and we'll be in the crosshairs. So you can ask questions of her just like you did, like we did of Adam. I'm looking forward to it. She's not going to be able to join us for the whole call, but I think we'll have about 30 minutes in front of her, is the plan. Ben, what can we talk about when it comes to new stuff in Fortify?
I think
Let's
you
go
have
over there
stuff.
because I literally saw this yesterday. So that add benchmark pull down just sort of showed up recently, and it landed before we expected it to because the other half of the Fortify team hadn't finished delivering the rest of the benchmarks. But if you jump back to the dashboard at the top left for me, brother,
Mine's not showing up. Is yours showing up?
hang on, pause there for a moment. Notice up at the top right. The this is something as sort of a marketing thing, is the way I've seen other partners utilize this. Hey, the top 20% of the performers on the entire globe on this platform have yet to break 54%. But look at my organizations. You've joined the right MSP because I'm already sitting at 10 points above that. It's 63%. So I'm a better MSP than those other guys, or however you want to spin that. Well, this is talking about Fortify score. Ben, under the Fortify benchmark pull down, hit select. Oh, yours is not showing.
No.
Well,
Is
let me go jump into mine real quick
Are you
because it was.
special? Are you a
I
special snowflake?
No, that's what I was sharing. I was
Oh,
sharing
here we
this with
go.
Ben earlier. Hang on. There we are.
I just
So,
had to empty my cache.
oh, thank you. Okay. So it's not just about secure score. It's about what are we doing with um, these other benchmarks that have to do, and I actually had two different ones going on the other day. Um, Pulling out of snapshots and how those are going to affect this. I don't know how to leverage this data yet, guys. I'm going to be 100%. There we are, benchmarks history. But this is where we talk about conditional access policies and what those are doing. This is where we talk about Intune policies and how they're affecting your secure scores. So this is an evolving space. Watch this as we get questions, shout them out on Discord, or email your account managers or whatever, because I'm curious to see how partners end up actually leveraging these snapshots and these other benchmarks. I think it's going to be largely as part of a marketing effort, but if somebody finds a different use for it, I'd love to hear about that. There we are, Intune as well. Yeah.
Okay. So this just shows you kind of compliance with the policies?
I think so. I think that's what we're seeing here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So
that's nifty.
It's brand new as of yesterday. Oh, Ben, fail.
I was rolling back a bunch of policies the other day just to see what would happen.
Well, now you know it's. Yeah, go ahead.
Do those the benchmarks? Those are based off of the snapshots or some of the templates?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then that basically is a view only mode of, hey, here's how it stacks up currently.
I believe so. Yeah, I think this is less of an engineering tool, more of a marketing tool, but that's why I'm kind of challenging everybody who showed up today to tell me how you might use this. I'm looking for some use cases and some understanding of how this data would be used in marketing or in your day-to-day engineering lives.
Well, in
I
the
guess some
engineering
people.
life, that's already, I can throw that up and be like, hey,
Hmm.
just how much crap's going to change if I flip this switch over here before I flip the switch?
Excellent.
If it's only going to change one or two things, that's good to know. If it's like, okay, they're like really, really off, we might want to review and be like, how many things are about to change if we just flip this switch?
How many
So
tickets are you going to get because people are screaming about the changes?
I like to look at and test before I flip things to on.
Can't blame you.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. Jump in, play with those. You might have to refresh or flush your cache, as our friend Ben just demonstrated. Um, exactly. Um, Matt's the kind of guy who does he does all of his testing in his production environment. And it actually, Ben, this question came up on a call. It's like, oh, when are your maintenance windows? We don't have them.
No.
I don't know if you've ever noticed, but stuff shows up at 2 in the morning and 1 in the afternoon. Whenever it passes QC, we deliver it right away, good or bad. But I think that really is, as Adam sort of alluded to, good. We're providing as much value as soon as possible, even if it's only 90% perfect. This is very much um, what they used to say, move fast, break things. It's move fast and break a little less, but we're still going to move fast. I actually stole that from a local billboard, Ben.
Nice
It's
job.
one of the it was like Data Dog or one of those. Absolutely, forward always. Data Dog or one of the guys who does internal testing is using that on their local billboards. Yeah. Ben, anything else that we want to explore here under snapshots and such?
Not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going
Ben,
to show you something.
what else on the platform can we talk about today, Ben?
Well, oh no, stay signed in. I can show you guys what's coming up, and this is very early. This is still in our dev environment, but it's the advanced suppression that I have been wanting for quite a while. And I want to show you kind of what it looks like now. Obviously, things will change, but I wanted to kind of get your hopes up here a little bit. So this is just looking at an analysis of some events that we have, some medium events. And let's find one. Okay, this is a Microsoft event. So let's go ahead and click on suppress here. And you'll have more options of things to suppress on. Now, obviously, there's a bunch of things that could be on this list that I'm going to push to have on there, like country and city and region and everything else. This is just kind of like the very early beta. But let's say that we wanted to we had a particular ASN provider that a partner loved to use, but is also used by threat actors. But every single time we have a respond rule trigger off of it, and it's really annoying. In the past, suppression is really only applied to tickets. It doesn't prevent rules from triggering or anything like that. It just says, "Oh well, I'm not going to create a ticket." Good question. Good question, Matt. You can also specify the scope for this. So does it just apply to this user? Does it apply to multiple accounts in this organization, the organization as a whole, or the partner environment as a whole? So that's really helpful there too. I'm going to go ahead and hit
Exactly.
next and answer some questions. Uh, yeah, that's the plan. That's what I need. The Microsoft ASN name in there would be nice for sure. I think it's going to be there, as well as I'm going to pretty much pull for anything and everything in an event to be something that we can trigger off of. But to answer your original question, Mr. Matt, so we have date based. So if we select this, it's giving us an option to have a date range, which is kind of helpful. I think some people have asked for that. We can also say no date range. Always, which is also very good. We have a name or reason. So if for our service, like managed, we're going to put like a ticket number in, maybe a brief description or something like that, but something that we can reference back to why was this created. For now, I'm just going to Ben said so. And what we can do is we can make this criteria. So if someone's signing in from this particular ASN, we can say, okay, well, I don't want you to ever trigger an IOC based off of this. Also, I don't want you to ever fire a respond rule. I want you to hide this from analysis. I don't want to ever see a ticket. And the extra field is the outside approved location. In the past, when you would whitelist or power filter something, it really only applies to this. Well, past, present. In the future, you'll be able to also not trigger respond rules because what we have experienced is we'll roll out a rule that's awesome. It's very, very sound and protects everybody except for this one dude who insists on acting like a threat actor, even though he's not. He likes to use maybe NordVPN, and that's showing up as a malicious VPN. But we would have to go into the rule itself, either make him exempt, which makes the rule useless for him, or create a second rule that's specifically geared towards this individual or individuals, and then exclude them from the original. And so now we have two rules that we have to keep up with, which is a total pain in the ass. So what I wanted was a ways for us to have a rule that does not change. Nobody changes it. It stays the same. If you need to make an exclusion to that rule, it's all done through this false positive identifying system called advanced suppression. That was terrifying, Sam.
Can I have
But
that yesterday, please?
I know, right? Same, same, same. And that's one thing that we want to do with MSA is basically have a rules that we update real time that, if we see an extra thing that we want to add to it, we can. But right now it's a little bit more difficult to do because if there's any sort of customization on that rule, in theory, us pushing out an update to it would replace what's there and cause problems, not to mention the custom rules that we have created for these that are like almost like child rules of these parents that have no actual connection. So, uh, ideally, we also want to inevitably give you kind of a read-only rule that we can roll out as well with respond that nobody has access to modify. Maybe based off, I thought like in a subscription kind of thing where you subscribe to like a threat feed or something inside of SaaS alerts. These rules can't be modified, but exclusions are handled through this system. But this is the beginning. This will be out this quarter, hopefully sooner than later. The fact that it is built in dev is a big plus. It has to go to QA after that and go through a couple of tests, and then it will be in production. Sometimes that moves really quickly. Sometimes it's more towards the end of the quarter, but I know I am pushing for it very fast.
And quick
Mm.
flashback to that last advanced suppression screen you had.
Mm-hmm.
I see AS 8075. That's every single Microsoft data center has AS 8075. Does that mean I could suppress, if I were to find file modified, suppress 8075 globally, then file delete, then file it, all of those? Does that mean with about 5 suppression rules, I wouldn't have to suppress every single data center in Dubai, data center in the Netherlands, data center in London?
Yeah, you can do that kind of similar now if you're trying to avoid outside approved location. What I told Adam that I wanted was I wanted a true false positive system because when we called it whitelist, we would get complaints that say, I whitelisted this. Why is this respond rule triggering? It was like, well, it has nothing to do with outside approved location, which is the only thing that whitelist applied to, which doesn't seem to think it's not really whitelisting. Uh, what this system will inevitably most likely do is replace power filters or become power filters. So that because basically what we're doing, if you gave me an IP address and maybe a country or something like that in here, then you would essentially have what is power filters today, which you would just basically say, check this, boom, that's power filters, right? There's really no difference. So I think this will replace power filters, but be better. One
And
thing
my second, go ahead.
I was gonna say one thing that we are missing, obviously we can't select multiple events, which I think would be a good thing, instead of having a suppression for each event. But this is obviously the first rendition, and there's also a couple of fields that I want to be put in here too, like
Agreed.
country.
Ben, I saw hide from analysis.
Hmm.
If I can't find it in analysis, where can I find it?
You'll find it nowhere. No, good question. So if and if you guys have any additional questions, just yeah, chat and Anthony will bring them up. So if we go under our events and we look under suppressed, this will be the new place that you'll see everything that has been suppressed. You'll see things that are active, things that are set for the future, and also things that have expired. If you check this option, you'll see that things have expired. So it kind of helps you keep a track of that. There's nothing really preventing you, I guess, from deleting it, but you can also modify it here as well. So if you want to see the things that would have triggered, you will have this little eyeball right here, which says view and analysis. And what that does is it sets up your analysis search to show you the things that would have triggered if you had not had suppression enabled. One other thing that was asked when we showed this off to our team was like, what about all the things that we already have in place, like all these exceptions to these rules? How I don't want to wait for the event to occur and then have to react to it. I want to get ahead of that. Good news is that they are building something to that effect, like an add button essentially. But if this does come out before that is available, which most likely won't be the case, this will have an API as well. So it would not be out of the realm of possibility to create an API that either read your rules and created these suppressions for you, or just give you a quick and easy way to create your own. But that's something to keep in mind too.
So G'd asked a very good question. Okay, so is there going to be a reporting function to say, hey, this is how many times this advanced suppression actually fired, so I can do an analysis and make sure I'm not missing anything or I'm getting the results that I want, basically.
Reports, maybe. I don't know if that'll
Or could I
land
find an
on Amanda's
analysis?
desk. Yeah,
Or
you'll be able to find it in analysis and then do an export, and then you'll also
Mhm.
be able to increase your date range and everything too. It's very similar to a nice little report, but more uh concise and no pretty graphs or anything.
Yeah. No, we're
Um,
engineers on this call. We like raw
but
data,
yeah,
lots
but
of it.
yeah, this will be probably your best bet to see, hey, is this doing exactly what I needed it to do?
Yeah, yeah. That's the feedback loop I want. I want trust but verify.
Yep. And
Wow, super powerful. That is that is something else. I have no idea how I'm going to leverage this, but that's going to open up a whole can of, oh my
yeah,
God.
yeah, that's like I said, I'm hoping for a kind of a read-only rule feature to follow this that basically can't be modified without some sort of like checks and balances or maybe permission or something like that. But that's the biggest concern that I always have is, as MSA is, did somebody go in and take one of our rules and make it useless by adding a one where a zero should be kind of thing? And
Yeah.
I don't know about it, so it would be nice to have a way to lock down rules. But
Also, there's your Tesla type subscription. You want full auto driving? You pay for it every month. You want heated seats in a BMW? You pay for it every month. You don't pay Ben, he turns off those rules, you know?
I don't know that I'd ever do that, but I would definitely. I think a subscription to threats would be really cool and handy, especially for
And so,
IOCs. And
yeah.
I don't know, maybe respond, but I do know we're working on. It looks like community templates are in here for IOCs, which I know is something that they're also working on, which would be really cool. It's very similar to community templates for respond. So you'll have a bunch of them in here. I know that we're going to eventually have to have a way of sorting all these because like I have 30 some that I push out with KSIM that will soon be an MSA. And that's just the ones that I could think of off the top of my head. And it's not not, I want to add more. So we're gonna
Absolutely.
need some categories here soon. And that's not even the ones that apply with like, like Rocket Cyber and everything.
And speaking of which, Sujit actually has a good question about Rocket Cyber now being here. Um, the idea, Sujit, as Adam sort of alluded to, um, after the acquisition of SaaS Alerts by Kaseya, we knew there were going to be some changes, and we wanted to be better about sharing data amongst other applications. And then something happened that was rather serendipitous. We didn't anticipate this, but our chief product officer at the time decided to go do something else. And my old boss, Jim Lippy, our CEO, he is now head of all products, and he is committed. He is absolutely committed to what we always wanted to do with SaaS alerts was ingest data from every application out there that had a viable API.
Mm.
Well, now that he sort of can have that discussion with the different products, we absolutely want everything that Kaseya sells to have a viable API and be as robust with syslog data as possible. Yeah, so that, yeah, if your Graphis account is being used wrong, we need to know about it. And I would say anybody who hasn't looked at settings and taken a look at the sort of data that's presented by the different application there under settings and modify the alerts, look at IT Glue. Long before the acquisition, they were one of my favorite business partners because they had a robust API to begin with, and they listened to SaaS alerts and they said, "Oh, partners might need to know that." Sure. And now that's in the API. If all software manufacturers were that responsive, you guys would have more data than you know what to do with, but you'd sleep a lot better at night. And that really is our goal. That's where we want to go. So look for that continuing evolution, Sujit, and here internally at Kaseya. And we are in constant contact and pestering other applications from QuickBooks to enrich their APIs.
Mhm.
Tina, you look like you have a question.
I do, because as
Okay.
I'm sitting here, I'm clicking through my SIM integration because RimTech is finally managed, Ben.
Nice.
But I haven't done the integration yet. It was at the beginning of the month, but I've been away.
Yeah.
Um, looking at the integration with Rocket Cyber, we have 3 different orgs for a single org, because I guess in our RMM we have 3 different sites because there's 3 different sites. So I can't map in SaaS alerts integration our 3 sites to the single SaaS alerts org. Am I going to need to? But of course, in SaaS alerts, there's only a single org to start because it was a single Office 365 tenant. What do I
Mm.
do with that? Should I break it down and split it out in SaaS alerts, or am I just going to miss ingesting data from those other 2 sites?
I thought you could do multiple locations in a single.
Oh, maybe I'm not. Maybe I can. Will it
No,
graze it out?
No, you can't. No. Look at
well,
that.
that's funny because all the rest of the GUI, everything else that we do, we allow for
Mhm.
that.
Yeah,
Alrighty. So
that might be something to bring up to Dev because you should be able to. All the other ones you can.
Tina, do this for us, please. Email support at and say, hi, I need to have multiple SaaS alerts orgs mapped to one Rocket Cyber org.
Hmm.
And that will start the wheels turning.
Yeah, they need to support locations. That's a pretty big deal.
Or at SaaS.
SaaS alerts.
I've never emailed support. SaaSalerts.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
You guys
Yeah, just
are
email.
my private support. Okay.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. Yeah, all the other ones do that
They
exact
do.
what they were talking, what Anthony was mentioning is like you basically can come in and just add other orgs to a particular location.
So the functionality is built in there. We always want a consistent UI, UX, all of that. Ben, would you please, for the love of God,
No,
fix
I'm gonna make you look at it. Yeah, like this right here.
yeah,
Like it
exactly.
should be doing that.
It really should. Yeah, that's our standard.
Maybe
Look at my
Eh,
broken
got it.
images.
Thank you.
It's almost therapeutic, isn't it, Anthony?
It really is.
One other thing that I don't know that, and we have, obviously there's nothing to go into, but one that we are working on actively right now is basically an endpoint where you can send data from any platform, any SaaS application, anything, anywhere, that you set up the mappings. I'm not going to say it's App Wizard, but it is basically a way for you to, if your software has the ability to send the data, the logs to a specific point, or like a webhook or something, then our system will ingest it and you will set up the mappings between the events and what it's sending. And inevitably, and eventually it'll also be one that we can have reach out to a particular endpoint and pull those logs. But if we do end up releasing the one that can receive, there are softwares out there that can help you be that middleman to get the events from one system to the next. So look for that to happen. I don't know this quarter, but pretty soon. It's will answer a lot of problems with people asking about integrations. So something to keep in mind.
Absolutely. Never a dull moment. Thanks everyone for joining us today. Don't forget to join us Thursday when our CEO can be available to take some questions. And I really enjoyed this today. Thanks for the great questions and for everybody that joined. Anybody, Matt, it sounds like you actually you actually asked a couple of questions last time last Thursday and here today. So I'll offer this to everybody. I think most people know. If you're struggling with the platform as it evolves, because it's not the same thing that you bought 6 months ago or 2 years ago or 2 days ago, don't hesitate to reach out to your account manager or get one of our guys in front of you, whether it's me or we've actually got some of the other Kaseya teams that are starting to come up to speed pretty well. And having a different voice in your ear might give you some direction on how to get the most out of this platform. So yeah, I recognize you like there's a second call. Matt, absolutely reach out to your account manager if some one-on-one time would be of use, and we're happy to make sure that that happens. It's a fun tool. It's complicated, but it's a fun tool. I want to make sure everybody on this call, everybody who ever joins these calls, gets the most out of it. So don't hesitate to reach out, guys. Thank you again for your time. I look forward to seeing y'all on Thursday. I look forward to seeing y'all again in 2 weeks. Peace.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.